So, hey, welcome. Have you ever looked around and wondered, how do some people just create these massive, lasting changes in their lives while the rest of us feel kind of stuck? Well, today we're going to unpack the powerful framework that's really at the heart of Tony Robbins' events. It's his method for creating personal breakthroughs. And you know what? It all boils down to one core idea.
And here is, this is that one powerful idea. See, the story that you tell yourself, about who you are, what you've been through, what you think you're capable of, that story is without a doubt the single strongest force that shapes your destiny. It's like the blueprint your brain is following every single day.
But that's the real challenge, isn't it? I mean, it's so easy to say, change your story. But when you're really in a tough spot, that story, it feels like the absolute truth, right? It feels undeniable. So this whole explainer, it's all about the how. We're going to get into the specific mechanics of how you actually take back control of that narrative. All right, so first up, your story is your life. This is the force that controls your future. Look, before we can even think about changing anything, we have to get a handle on the power we're dealing with here. Think of your personal story like a governor on an engine. You know, that little device that limits how fast it can go? Well, that's what your story does. It puts a cap on how far and how fast you can go in life. It literally dictates what you see, what you believe is possible, and what actions you're even willing to take. And this leads to a really core insight from Robbins. He says that true, lasting happiness doesn't actually come from hitting that big goal. Nope, it comes from the feeling of making progress. I mean, think about it for a second. Have you ever worked super hard for something, you finally get it, and then you just feel a little empty? Kind of like, is this it? That's because we are wired for growth. We're not meant to just sit at the finish line. That feeling of progress, that is the feeling of being alive. So, the breakthrough formula, the 3 elements of change. Okay, so how do we create that feeling of progress? Well, Robbins breaks it all down into 3 core elements. And here's the key. When you get these 3 things right, and this is crucial, in the right order, you can literally create a breakthrough in any area of your life. I'm serious. Okay, so let's talk about the common mistake. This is where almost everybody goes wrong, and it's why they fail. We want to change something, right? So what's the first thing we do? We look for a strategy, the how-to guide. But here's the problem. If you're in a state of fear or doubt or just total uncertainty, even the world's greatest strategy is going to feel impossible. Your limiting story, that little voice in your head that says, oh, I've tried everything before, or I'm just not that kind of person, that story will absolutely sabotage your plan before you even take step 1. Now, the breakthrough order flips this whole thing on its head. The solution is to reverse it completely. You don't start with strategy. You start by radically changing your physical and emotional state. I mean, right now, stand up, move your body, blast some powerful music. Think about something you're genuinely grateful for. When you get into a peak state, that's when you can access a new, empowering story. Suddenly, you start to believe new things are possible. And only then, only when you have a powerful state and an empowering story, does the strategy actually work. This brings us to our next section, life's call to adventure, or how to reframe your problems. And honestly, this is one of the most powerful mindset shifts you can ever make. I want you to think about this. What if your biggest challenges, the things that cause you the most pain, what if they aren't just random, cruel twists of fate? What if they're actually opportunities in disguise? This simple idea, this reframe, it changes everything. Because when you adopt this belief, it means that every single problem, every setback is actually a trigger for your growth. It's like the universe is pushing you, pushing you to become stronger or more compassionate or more resourceful. It's not a punishment, it's a call to action. And you can actually see this play out in what's called the hero's journey. It's this ancient story structure that basically becomes a map for your own life. Your ordinary world is just your current life. Then that problem you're facing, that's the call to adventure. And what do most of us do? We try to refuse the call, right? We pretend it's not there, which only makes things worse. But when you finally decide to face it, to go out and slay your dragons, your fears, your limiting beliefs, that's when you transform. You come back from that journey as the hero, stronger than before, and with something valuable to give back. All right, next up, the path to progress, a 7-step guide to mastery. So we've got the mindset down, we've got the formula, now for the really actionable part.
This is a clear step-by-step process for not just getting on the path to mastering any area of your life, but for staying on it.
So the first part is all about building the foundation. The first 4 steps are absolutely crucial. Step 1, awaken your hunger. This isn't just a vague wish like, oh, I'd like to be healthier. No, this is about getting crystal clear on what you want and having powerful reasons why it is an absolute must for you. Then, step 2, face the truth. This is where you get brutally honest about what's really stopping you. No more excuses. 3, create a map. Plan out your immediate actions. And 4, slay your dragons. That means you do the hard things first to build some real momentum. Okay, let's do a quick deep dive into that second step, face the truth, because it's so important. These are the 5 most common roadblocks, the dragons, you're gonna run into. Is it fear? Fear of failure, fear of what people will think. Is it a limiting belief, like, I'm just not good enough? Maybe it's a disruptive emotion, like just feeling totally overwhelmed all the time. Or maybe it's a bad habit that keeps sabotaging you. Or hey, maybe you're just missing a key skill you need to learn. The point is, you have to name it to tame it.
All right, so once that foundation is solid, it's all about building momentum. This is the second part of the path. Step 5 is daily practice. You create small, reinforcing habits that move you in your new direction. Step 6, measure often. You've got to track your progress because what gets measured gets managed. You need to see that you're moving forward. And number 7, and this one is so often overlooked, celebrate. You have to acknowledge and reward your wins, no matter how small. This literally trains your brain to associate progress with pleasure, which makes you want to keep going.
Okay, final section here. Action creates momentum. This is the cure-all for fear. And this brings us to the final, and I mean the most critical piece of this entire puzzle. You can have the best mindset in the world, you can have the perfect plan all laid out, but without this one ingredient, absolutely nothing happens. And what is it? Massive action. This is the cure-all. It's the ultimate antidote to fear, to doubt, to procrastination. Listen, you cannot think your way out of a rut. You have to act your way out. Taking massive, and imperfect action is what creates momentum. And that momentum builds your confidence. And that confidence is what finally shatters that old limiting story for good.
But how do you make sure that action actually sticks? You use what Robbins calls the commitment principle. It's simple, but it's genius. Never leave the site of a decision without taking an action, no matter how small, that commits you to following through. So when you feel inspired, when you're in that peak state right after you've made a decision, you have to immediately take a physical action to lock it in. Send that email, make that call, sign up for that class. You have to do it while you're motivated, before that old state and that old story have a chance to creep back in and talk you out of it. And so that leaves us right here with this one question. This isn't about tomorrow or next week or when you feel like it. Based on everything we've just covered, what is one small action you can take right now, in this very moment, to get on the path? What can you do to commit yourself to progress? Because that first step, that first little action, that's everything.